Good evening and welcome. It's 8 p.m. on the clock. Time for the news on NDTV. I am Ankit Tyagi. These are the headlines. Modi government's 46-point white paper on UPA economy. Nirmala Sitharaman says an inheritance of loss. Meanwhile, that Congress counters the white paper with a black paper. Congress says government silent on jobs. Congress brings up inflation. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Narendra Modi takes a jibe at the opposition. UP farmers protest in Noida ends. Farmers protest in rest of Uttar Pradesh dial down. UP government agrees on high-powered panel. India throws back interference charge at Canada. India says Canada interfering in our internal affairs. Kerala Chief Minister Pinarayi Vijayan leads protests against the centre. Kerala Chief Minister says protests to preserve federalism structure. Terror attack on cops as Pakistan votes Nawaz Sharif a shoe-in Prime Minister. India says Pakistan Army has made it clear they want Nawaz. It was a day of white versus black paper in the Parliament. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman tabled the government's white paper on the UPA era economy, 46-point white paper on the 10 years of the UPA. The government said on an inheritance of loss. Nirmala Sitharaman also said health defence sectors suffered under the UPA. The banking crisis under the UPA was crisis of leadership and policy paralysis. The finance minister also in fact said that policy misadventures and scams were the highlight of those 10 years of UPA.
It's a paper which is the old cassette in a new with a new sticker. The same cassette related things they were repeating. Now people want 2014 to 2024 what they had done it. Petrol price was 74 rupees per litre. Now it is 102 rupees. Diesel price was 47, 95 rupees. Dal was 45 rupees, 205 rupees. People want answers for it. Unemployment is so high in India now. Therefore, people want that answer. She is not giving that answer. She is putting the blame on 2004.
The UPA has done better, whether it is in unemployment, whether it is in inflation, whether it is in the fiscal deficit. In every case, the numbers are more favorable for the UPA government than for the NDA government. So I don't know what they're talking about. We had better economic growth, we had pulled more people out of poverty, and all the numbers are reliable, internationally verified numbers, unlike the numbers of the NDA where the goalposts keep changing.
All right, so the government, in fact, bringing this out, attacking the opposition. Remember, it's an election year, and despite facts and figures being quoted, it all becomes political in the end. My colleague Vasudha Venugopal is joining us with more details on this. Vasudha, the government on the front foot in its comparison says that 10 years of Narendra Modi versus 10 years of Manmohan Singh, there is a huge difference. Vasudha, if you can hear me, this entire white paper that the government has brought 46 points as far as the UPA versus NDA narrative going into an election year, this becomes an important talking point.
Of course, and if you look at the 52-page document, it's very clear that the government basically wants to show people the legacy of the economy that it received from UPA, and it is divided into three parts. First of all, it talks about all the policies that were instrumental for the policy paralysis that we often talk about in the UPA government, the kind of mistakes that they made. For instance, this whole thing about, not going for auction but nominating players for coal mines, or for that matter even 2G, which, later on played out to be be a scam, or even Commonwealth Games, which they compare with, the way government conducted G20 and said how everything was so transparent in international events, and international investors actually got faith in India because of these events and because of policies. And, if you look at the paper, the whole underlying theme is the kind of confidence that investors got in the last 10 years. Because a lot of laws were changed. For instance, district mineral funds was brought in. Even laws in terms of space, because there was this Antariksh Deva scam that happened, which actually played out in international courts and led to a lot of defaming of the nation. So if you look at it, it's a political document, it's an economic document. And what I understand is that the center wants every BJP unit to pick it up and counter the Congress's black paper. And also it wants to singulate the Congress, isolate the Congress, and show not just people of the country, but also India allies on how, allegedly horrible the government was during the UPA years, because, of course, this whole problems of NPAs and banking institutions were sort of like, results of its policies that were bad in nature.
Vasudha, thank you for joining us with all those details. So the answer to the 52-page white paper by the government was, in fact, the opposition and particularly the Congress party bringing out a black paper, a 54-page black paper to counter Narendra Modi government's white paper on its performance for the last 10 years. Now, Congress Chief Mallikarjun Kharge released the black paper this morning and targeted the centre for its misdoings.
हमने सोचा कि एक ब्लैक पेपर इस सरकार के खिलाफ निकालना और लोगों को बताना, इस दृष्टि से आज हम ये आपके सामने रख रहे हैं। बेरोजगारी जो सबसे बड़ा मुद्दा है, कितने लोगों को एम्प्लॉयमेंट मिला, कितने लोगों को अच्छी नौकरी मिली, ये उन्होंने कभी नहीं बताया। और दूसरा, महंगाई, इस इन्फ्लेशन को कंट्रोल करने के लिए आपने क्या कदम उठाया, यह महत्व का है।
Let's bring authentic, verifiable data, and then we can have an informed debate. I welcome the white paper. I hope it's verifiable, authentic data, because this government is notorious for bringing in very dubious data. Let them bring in authentic data. Let us verify the data. Then we will bring out the data during our tenure, and we can have a very healthy debate about it. No problem.
One last question, Mallikarjun Kharge ji, he also today we are going to introduce the black paper. So I think
the reality of what is happening in India would be the black paper.
Details on this, Sunil, black paper to counter the white paper, but this now becomes a battle of narratives on economy.
Absolutely, it's a big battle. The real joke, actually, as the opposition has been pointing out, is are you talking about a 20-year period? What happened? There was an entire financial crisis which led to the emergence of G20, where we have now celebrated its presidentship. When Dr. Manmohan Singh actually chaired and helped developed countries at that time, from America and you name it, during that entire period. There's a lot to be said, a lot to be done. Ultimately, I think, as you know, is are you trying to what is the core issues that are affecting the people today? Unemployment, high inflation, and these are things that have happened in the last 10 years. So are you trying to now talk about the 20-year period and history at this, which very young voters have no idea about? Or is it building a narrative to try to take on in this present juncture a system to defend what is clearly a terrible situation in terms of employment? So these are concerns that ultimately the people will decide. Right. But it's good that a debate is taking place on the politics of the economy.
That's right. Political economy, the focus, in fact, facts and figures being thrown by both sides. But Prime Minister Narendra Modi shows the parliament to respond to this black paper, which has been brought in by the Congress party.
आज देश पिछले 10 साल में समृद्धि के नए शिखर सर कर रहा है। एक भव्य दिव्य वातावरण बना है, उसको नजर न लग जाए, इसलिए काला टीका करने का एक प्रयास हुआ है। मैं उसके लिए भी खड़गे जी का बहुत धन्यवाद करता हूं, ताकि इस हमारी प्रगति की यात्रा को कोई नजर न लग जाए, ये नजर न लग जाए इसलिए आपने आज जो काला टीका किया है, मैं तो सोच रहा था सब काले कपड़ों में आएंगे, लेकिन शायद काला जोजू खिंचते 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 ब्लैक पेपर तक चला गया है, लेकिन फिर भी मैं उसका भी स्वागत करता हूं।
Moving on now, 3 union ministers are meeting farmers of Punjab. The meeting is taking place in Chandigarh. Ministers from the union cabinet, Arjun Munda, Nityanand Rai and Piyush Goyal are at this meeting with the farmer leaders associations and their heads. Now, this is after farmers have threatened a tractor march and on 13th of February, stating that the government is yet to fulfill the guarantees and the assurances that were given as far as the MSP is concerned. Now, pension for farmers is another issue along with crop insurance. The government this time taking no chances, and that's the reason why there are these ministers talking to the farmers before the agitation starts, unlike what happened last time in 2020-21 when the farmers sat in for a one-year protest. My colleague Mohammad Ghazali is joining us with more details on this. Mohammad Ghazali, the meeting is still on. What are you picking up from your sources at this moment? And also the preparations which have been made just in case farmers do decide to march towards Delhi.
See, Ankit, generally when such discussions happen, the leaders who go for negotiation are under intense pressure. Because all this while you have mobilized people, you have conveyed it to the masses back in villages that on 13th we are going to hit the streets. Now, it doesn't look likely that the government representatives who have come here to speak to the farmers will readily agree for all those demands, because those demands are something which relates to legislation like legalizing MSP or withdrawing the electricity amendment bill. This is not something which these union ministers can convince the farmers that they're agreeing to it right away. Punjab Chief Minister Bhagwant Mann is the one who has facilitated this meeting. He has been in touch with the farmers since yesterday, convincing them that somehow he will bring the union government to table to talks. The talks are going on. There are what we are picking up right now is that perhaps the government will ask or buy some time from farmers to ask them to hold off their protest, but that looks very unlikely as of now. The meeting is still going on. We don't know that what kind of assurances the government will give to the farm union leaders, but the farm union leaders have given assurances back in their own political constituencies that the tractor march will go on Feb 13th.
All right. Thank you, Mohammad Ghazali, for joining us with all those details, at least when the government is trying to diffuse that fire with the farmers of Punjab. Today, Uttar Pradesh farmers protested in Noida, and thankfully at this moment, at least the farmers' protest has been called off. The farmers' protest in rest of Uttar Pradesh has also been dialed down. This after Uttar Pradesh government agreed to a high-powered panel. Meanwhile, throughout the day, Noida commuters, people those who are coming from Noida to Delhi or those who are going from Delhi to Noida, had a harrowing time. Meanwhile, let's just shift focus to politics of Bihar, where Nitish Kumar and BJP relationship status is I went either udhar. That's what Nitish Kumar in fact said. Now he says that he's formally back with the Bharatiya Janata Party and this is his final stop.
और आप लोगों को हम बता ही दिए हैं पहले से। अरे पहले जहाँ थे साथ बीच में 2 बार इधर उधर हुए, लेकिन अब फिर से एक बार उधर ही हो गए हैं। अब सब दिन के लिए परमानेंटली उधर ही रहेंगे, इसलिए बहुत अच्छी बातचीत हो गई है।
Some international news now. Canada interfering in our affairs. That's what India has said, rejecting Canada's allegations that there has been interference by India in Canadian election. Now, India has highlighted that Canada is interfering in our internal matters on the accusations being made by the Canadian agencies.
You know, we've seen media reports about Canadian Commission inquiring into foreign interference, and there have been some related developments as well. We strongly reject all such baseless allegations of Indian interference in Canadian elections. It is not Government of India's policy to interfere in democratic processes of other countries. In fact, quite on the reverse, it is Canada which has been interfering in our internal affairs. We have been raising this issue regularly with them. We continue to call on Canada to take effective measures to address our core concerns.
In a series of protests by southern states, today Kerala Chief Minister landed in Delhi and protested along with his cabinet at Jantar Mantar against the central government. The Kerala government protest was against the fund allocation. Opposition, in fact, has upped the ante over the funds allocation specifically to the southern states. Now, after Karnataka, Kerala is the new state to join in.
2 days in a row, opposition states raising the ante against the centre over bias in connection to allocation of funds. Day after Karnataka, today top leaders from Kerala government took to the streets against the centre. Kerala Chief Minister Pinarayi Vijayan led the protest, which saw ministers, MPs and MLAs from the state participating. But it was not just Kerala. Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal, Punjab Chief Minister Bhagwant Mann and former JNK Chief Minister Farooq Abdullah also joined in.
We have all come together to register our strong protest against this and to preserve the federal structure of India.
The left government in Kerala blamed the centre for the state's financial woes. On the other hand, the centre told Supreme Court that Kerala is one of the most financially unhealthy states and its financial stress was due to mismanagement.
The union government led by Narendra Modi is discriminating against various states, especially Kerala, especially non-BJP states. So we have been denied an amount of rupees 57,400 crores arbitrarily by the union government.
A political drama being enacted in a coordinated effort by the three partners of the INDI alliance. Their single point agenda of this triumvirate of these three parties is to essentially create a narrative of South versus North.
This was also an opportunity for the opposition alliance to show a united stand.
विजयन साहब यहाँ पे अपने घर के लिए अपने परिवार के लिए पैसे मांगने नहीं आए, वो केरला के लोगों के लिए पैसे मांगने आए हैं आज। तो हम छोटी-छोटी बातों के लिए सुप्रीम कोर्ट जाएंगे क्या? The nation is not strong inside. You cannot beat your enemy. Every state wants to progress.
இத்தனைக்கும் குஜராத் மாநில முதலமைச்சராக இருந்து அதன் பிறகு பிரதமரானவர் அவர். ஆனால் பிரதமரானதும் அவர் செஞ்ச முதல் செயல் மாநிலங்களோட உரிமையை பறிச்சதுதான்.
It was a show of strength at Jantar Mantar, where opposition leaders like Arvind Kejriwal, Bhagwant Mann, Farooq Abdullah and DMK Minister P. Thiagarajan attended the protest. While Prime Minister Narendra Modi has said that the opposition is trying to create a divide among North-South, Kerala government has strictly said that their protest is for the people of Kerala and there is no political agenda behind it. With camera person Stephen Anthony, I am Arpita Kumar for NDTV.
For the Bharatiya Janata Party, the mission south, in fact, is important ahead of the Lok Sabha elections 2024. And in a bid, BJP and AIDMK, both in Tamil Nadu, are trying to woo the regional parties. DMDK, meanwhile, has put out a demand of 1 Rajya Sabha, 14 Lok Sabha seats. DMDK is crucial to AIDMK. DMK, after her husband's death, Premlata has taken over as the DMDK chief. Now, the big question is whether she is going to join the NDA and will that have an impact in the upcoming polls.
Months after the death of popular actor politician Vijay Gandhi, both the opposition, AIADMK and the BJP, are wooing his party, DMDK, now headed by his wife Premlata. The party that once commanded 10% vote share has now dwindled to 2%. But the death of DMDK founder Vijay Gandhi has reportedly triggered massive sympathy. So the party is now flexing its political muscle, demanding 14 Lok Sabha seats and 1 berth in the upper house.
10 plus 1 whom they are giving, so we will think about that. Because the sympathy, not only the sympathy, people have great respect on captain. Without captain, we are facing first election.
After suffering 2 successive defeats in Assembly and Lok Sabha polls that it fought in alliance with the BJP, the AIADMK has snapped ties with the Saffron Party. With the AIADMK already fragmented with the ouster of Sasikala and former Chief Minister O. Pannirselvam, the DMDK could add strength to counter the ruling DMK's formidable alliance. With both the DMK and AIADMK wanting to keep the BJP at arm's length, the National Party with negligible presence in the state is reaching out to smaller parties like the DMDK and PMK that has a 4% vote share in the state.
There will be a very silent revolution this time, what I feel. But we are not, that doesn't stop us from going in for an alliance. So definitely, we are open for any alliance.
Ruling DMK has taken a lead in seat-sharing talks with its alliance intact. The other players, AIADMK and the BJP, firming up their alliances would largely hinge on smaller players like the DMDK and PMK saying yes. In Chennai with Suresh, Sam Daniel, Find TV.
Meanwhile, voting ends in Pakistan general elections marred by suspension of mobile services and violence. Polling was extended in some constituencies by 2 hours. My colleague Vishal Vivek reports.
Just a day after twin blasts in Pakistan killed more than 24 people, the nation went to polls hoping for an incident-free day. However, another terror attack thwarted those hopes as many policemen were killed in the restive region of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. Reports suggest the policemen were on election duty. Instances of violence were reported from many other parts of the country. But despite the violence, people turned up in large numbers to cast their ballots. Among them was Nawaz Sharif, the front-runner for the PM's post. Nawaz Sharif has the backing of the Pakistan Army, which has always played a huge role in deciding Pakistan's government. With a heavyweight like former Prime Minister Imran Khan behind bars and disqualified to run for office, Nawaz Sharif doesn't face any threat other than Bilawal Bhutto Zardari. India will have an eye on the result as Pakistan's support of terror has always been a key question.
जो 8 फरवरी को होने वाला है वो इलेक्शन कम और सिलेक्शन ज़्यादा लग रहा है क्योंकि जो पाकिस्तान की फौज है उसने कई दिनों से ये साफ कर दिया है कि इलेक्शन में क्या परिणाम चाह रहे हैं और वो चाह रहे हैं कि नवाज शरीफ का सिलेक्शन हो.
There are a few positive signs as Nawaz Sharif has displayed openness towards India in the recent past and also acknowledged its global advancements. But his party's manifesto says that Pakistan will only extend an olive branch when India reverts the abrogation of Article 370. Due to Pakistan's strategic importance, the Indian subcontinent eagerly awaits the results. With Vishal Vivek, Bureau Report, NDTV.